Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
Welcome to the show. I'm Lisa Williams. Today, we have Dr. Simone Ellis, the owner of Smile Design Studios, Family and Cosmetic Dentistry, located in Missouri City, Texas. Dr. Ellis is the founder and president of the Houston Minority Dental Society, whose purpose is to unite minority dentists and helping them to advance their careers. She also is a public motivational speaker and was recently featured on the Boss Network tour with Beverly Johnson. Dr. Ellis volunteers her time with several nonprofits, the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and Give Kids a Smile Day, to name a few. She gives back to her community by way of her office, hosting a free day of dentistry and Adopt a Family for Thanksgiving Day annually. Dr. Ellis takes mentorship seriously. She has a program geared towards high school students interested in dentistry. She has been featured in articles in Dental Town and Dental Economics, chosen as 40 under 40 from Xavier University, and recently featured as one of 9 successful Black women CEOs and entrepreneurs you should know. Dr. Ellis shares a valuable nugget that she attributes to her success. She said that the level of commitment and support she received from professors and staff at Xavier University could not have been possible without the staff believing that each individual student could make a difference. The community and support that was established at Xavier has helped her establish confidence and learn that whom much is given, much is expected. Please welcome to the show, Dr. Simone Ellis.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
We're glad to have you. Well, let's get started. Today, we're going to talk about the growing number of Black women in business, how we've evolved, and what it'll take to help African American women in business run successful businesses. Let's get started. Black women have always had an entrepreneurial spirit. From our great-grandmothers who cleaned houses for a living and sold fish dinners at churches, to the many African American women who rose to the tops of their industries, including Michelle Obama, the first African American First Lady of the United States, Sheila C. Johnson, founder of BET, becoming the first African American woman billionaire, Oprah Winfrey, having the #1 daytime talk show in America, Serena Williams, #1 in women's singles tennis, Janice Bryant, owner of the largest minority woman-owned employment agency in the United States, and Ursula Burns, the first African-American woman CEO of a Fortune 500 company. And of course, the list goes on and on. In fact, according to the 2015 State of Women-Owned Business Report, the number of women-owned businesses grew by 74% between 1997 and 2015. The report also stated that 33% of women-owned firms are owned by minority women, and Black females are amongst the fastest-growing group of entrepreneurs in the U.S. It's wonderful to know that African-American women entrepreneurs are the fastest-growing segment of entrepreneurs in the U.S. What a great statistic. So it's important that we don't let this momentum die. Now, more than ever, African-American women entrepreneurs need resources available to help them not just be in business, but grow in business. The biggest hurdle African-American women business owners face is that many are first-generation entrepreneurs, and they lack exposure to other Black women in business that have successful businesses from which they can glean habits and proven processes from. Let's look at an example of just how important having a role model accessible to you can be. Here is what Jessica Alba, actress and CEO of The Honest Company, said about having someone that you can call on.
As far as mentors go, countless. I was not shy about making phone calls to many people. I've been fortunate enough to know people like Tory Burch and Diane von Furstenberg, and they, got lots of emails and phone calls from me along the way with tears in my eyes saying, I don't know if this is possible. Why is everyone telling me no? What do I do? What does it even mean to get venture capital? What is venture capital? What's a board? I just didn't know all these business terms. And so they helped me understand it. And it's nice having women that you can look to and rely on.
Incidentally, her husband, Cash Warren, a Yale graduate, producer, and tech investor, introduced Jessica to his childhood friend, Brian Lee, an entrepreneur who co-founded LegalZoom. And the women Jessica reached out to, Tory Burch, who is a New York fashion designer, and Diane von Furstenberg, who is a billion-dollar fashion designer. Unfortunately, most African American women don't have the same access and connections that Jessica Alba was blessed with. Black female entrepreneurs need a supportive network of African American women business owners that we can learn from. It's time to talk, share, and provide resources and roadmaps to Black women in business. We need successful mentors to inspire African American women on their journey in business. I have lined up a variety of successful, prominent, and leading African American women in business across many industries to share their paths and secrets to their success. They will discuss their journey not only as women in business, but more importantly, how they grew successful businesses in spite of the unique challenges faced by African American women business owners. Forgive my cloudy voice, but the show must go on. So let's get into the show.
So, Dr. Ellis, my first question is to you. How do you feel about being a part of this historical time for African American women in business?
Well, first off, let me start off by saying thank you, Lisa, for highlighting this topic. I really, really believe that it's something that needs to be spoken about, and so many of the facts that you just stated are so true about, entrepreneurship as well as being a Black woman. To be a part of something so dynamic, so important, I am excited because my hopes are exactly what you touched on. I'm hoping that through my struggles or through my trials and tribulations, I can help someone else not make those same mistakes and elevate their success even faster than my own. So I completely think it's an amazing thing that you're doing. I wanted to thank you for that. And just to stand on, the shoulders of our ancestors and just trying to make sure that I am making my industry proud and I'm making my colleagues proud. I always look at myself and say that, my life is not to be just my life. It's got to impact other people. So I just hope that I'm doing my part to, make a difference for Black girls, not just Black people, but just, in general.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. It's so important. And interesting that you bring that up because when I did a search online, I found articles of our foremothers, successes, but today's Black women, successful Black women, there's not a lot of articles that talk about their struggle and what they did to overcome them and push through and have the successful businesses that they have. And there's something about having information out there with people that you watch on TV or you're familiar with or are here today, living in today's society, dealing with the challenges and things that we go through today.
Right. I definitely believe that we have got to do a better job of portraying our Black women a little bit differently so that we can have those articles written about us, because I know several Black women that are entrepreneurs and, we get a chance to talk and hash out ideas. And it's unfortunate that I think that media portrays us in a different light because it is hard to find that information out, and I don't know if it's accessible to someone else that looks just like me. So I completely agree. One of the things that I really would like is we got to start putting some more positive images of ourselves out there because there are some wonderful, wonderful women that are doing amazing things that look just like us,
That's right. So, Dr. Ellis, a good story isn't a good story until we can understand where you started. Can you tell us how you started in business?
Yes, absolutely. Well, let me give you a little bit of background information on myself. I'm born and raised in Kansas City, Kansas. I went to college in New Orleans at Xavier University of Louisiana, and then I went to dental school in New Jersey at the University of Medicine and Dentistry at New Jersey, and now it's called Rutgers. And I moved to Houston back in 2009. I have always been a very aggressive or ambitious person, like I like to call myself. And so I was someone that I feel like always believed that the sky is the limit, and I just had no boundaries or restrictions. I later found out that that's not so true. There are a lot of restrictions out there, but for me, I just always felt like if I worked hard enough, I could get it. So I knew when I graduated from dental school in 2009 that within a year's time, I put a goal in place that I would open my own practice, Smile Design Studios, in 2010, and I did. Little did I know, there was a lot that I guess was involved in opening your own dental office, and so I've had a lot of, I'll call it a nice roller coaster ride along the way. We've been in practice for, this is going on my 6th year. We've grossed over $1.2 million in revenue, so we are a very successful practice at a young age. However, I made a lot of mistakes, and those are some of the things now that I go back and I'm able to consult with other doctors about. I'm also creating my own dental seminars called The Ambitious Dentist, where the goal is to highlight doctors to make sure that they don't see or make these same mistakes that I did as an entrepreneur.
Excellent. First of all, congratulations.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, to have that level of success within 5 to 6 years of starting your business, very impressive.
Thank you. It took a lot of crying nights, but we made it.
Well, we look forward to hearing a little bit more about those nights.
Yes.
So tell me first, who do you work with and who do you help?
So I service the Missouri City or Houston area in Texas, and my goal and objective is to help. We see the age demographic of anywhere. I see all ages, but my goal is to really educate patients about proper dental care. I grew up in a family where, unfortunately, my parents were not able to have access to dental care. They grew up, pretty poor. And so I used to go visit the dentist with my father, and he was getting teeth pulled. And I'm like, oh, my God, this is amazing. And then I realized that after a while that wasn't amazing. And due to his social economic status, that unfortunately he was not able to afford dental care. So that's like something I take very seriously, is basically educating my patients about how do we keep our teeth. My patient base is probably predominantly African American. I'll say about 80%. And so I take it really, really personal that I educate my own people about, hey, this is important. This is not considered a want. This is actually a need, because a lot of times with dentistry, unfortunately, I compete with what I call the big screen TVs. People don't come to the dentist a lot of times unless they're in pain. So my goal and objective is to try to make them understand that dentistry is not expensive, neglect is. So how do we prevent neglect from happening?
I like that. So in any industry, there are things people believe that may or may not be true. What are 2 or 3 needs or problems, real or perceived, that your clients or prospects have that you help them solve? So with regards to dentistry, I mean, people have all kinds of hang-ups and myths.
Absolutely.
Real or perceived.
I'm a part-time counselor. So
right.
Sit up there.
Yes.
I mean, that's one of them. I work with 3 different parts, and so let me address those things. With dentistry, it's just a horrible experiences. People really hate coming to the dentist. I mean, it's just no way of getting around it. And so I always tell the joke to my patients, I'm so glad that I'm comfortable and confident in my skin, because the amount of times I get told, I don't want to see you, but I like you, but I don't like what you do. I mean, if I had low self-esteem, I'd seem to be really bad right now. So
sure.
With dentistry, that's pretty much it. With my clients that I consult with, real and perceived problems is being able to measure outcomes and be successful at that. So a lot of times people do not understand how to measure their growth opportunities or what they're missing, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
And so that's something that I, have with my clients. And then, mistakes that are made and how not to be your own worst critic.
Good. I like that. So as an African-American woman in business, let's talk about what your path has been and what that path has looked like navigating your entrepreneurial ship. What can you share with other African-American women business owners about starting, staying, and sticking with their business to reach a level of success?
I think, one, you really need to know your industry. And what I mean by that is understanding what people are doing that are making your industry successful. I am an avid reader, and so I'm consistently trying to find out what is going on in my industry. How do I stay above or cut above creating a niche for yourself? Because you have to create something that people want or people need. Now, of course, in my industry, people need to go to the dentist. So I always say, you may not see me today, but at some point you're going to have to come and see me. So that's something that's already naturally created. But for people who are trying to open businesses, you really have to create some sort of need for what you're trying to promote or sell. And that would be just kind of making sure you've done the research. Also understanding that, life and owning a business is not easy. So you have to be, I guess, a thick skin, It's not something that you walk into lightly. And I have two favorite quotes that I like to say. Nothing is permanent in the world, not even our troubles, by Charlie Chaplin. And then the other one is, life is tough, my darling, but so are you. And that's by Stephanie Henry. And I use those quotes to kind of balance myself out, because owning a business is tough. And so if every single time something presents itself as a struggle, you feel like giving up, you could have been moments away from your breakthrough. And I was there. I was that girl. I wanted to sell my practice. A funny story, I literally put my practice up for sale year 2 into owning it. And because I was like, this is too much. Like I was 27 at the time. This is too much. I did not sign up for this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting gray hair faster than my colleagues. And I remember putting my practice up for sale, and the person that was responsible for selling my practice, he said, Simone, I can't do this. And I said, why? He said, your practice is doing amazing things, and you are just being too difficult for yourself or too hard on yourself to see. And he said, I want you to suck it up and start running your practice like a businesswoman should. And that was like the best advice that I could have ever gotten. So
that is a great story. I mean, it's funny that you share that, because I was thinking to myself, many times people will pay attention to you saying, you made $1 blah million blah blah in your business, and think to themselves, well, she doesn't understand my problems. I'm still struggling my first 5 years. But then for you to come back and share that you literally put your business up for sale, and some of those challenges, can you speak to some of those things that made you feel like you needed to put the business up for sale?
Absolutely. I didn't know my industry. I mean, that's just really one of the big issues. Like, I didn't know what questions to ask, because I never had any business classes, so I didn't really know how to run a business. I knew that if I produced something that I should be getting a reward back, but I didn't know how I fared in comparison to other offices that were open. So, like I said, I didn't know my industry. I didn't know my metrics. And that's a big thing that I think business owners have to know is they got to know those numbers. And I didn't understand them. And so I also, as a woman, I had a lot of, I don't want to say imbalancing issues. You try to be a superwoman in so many things with so many people. And I just was getting tired and running down. And I did not put myself first. I did not take care of myself. And consequently, that also made me want to give up very easily, because I didn't have any fight power. Does that make any sense?
It sure did. It sure does.
Yeah. So, I mean, just not knowing my industry. Capital, I think, is a big thing. You touched on something at the beginning, and having access to running a business, dentists get a lot of money, but again, I think that I probably should have asked for more capital because you have to have money to make money. And, that was a little bit of a struggle at the beginning.
Uh-huh. So, Dr. Ellis, what did you do to get past wanting to sell your business and being charged to move forward and make it successful?
So I started taking business classes because that was really what I didn't know. I started making my business a priority. Not that it wasn't a priority before, but I lacked education about it. I knew the dental aspect of it, but I did not know how to run a business. And so Goldman Sachs at the time was offering the 10,000 Small Business Program. And I always say God works in my life so mysteriously, but always miraculously. Someone had just recently submitted something to me and said, "Hey, Simone, I think that you would be great for this class." And I applied for it, and they only took 20 applicants to go through and basically teach them how to run a business. And I applied. It was an extensive process, and I got in. So I call it like my little mini business school. I didn't have to pay for anything, but I got a chance to learn about my business. So there's so many programs out. And then I found out there's so many programs out here that are just like that. Business bureaus that you can become a part of and just really learning about what you're doing. So that was one thing. And I stopped, excuse this term, I stopped being a punk about it. I just became a woman about it, stronger about it, and, didn't have this weak mentality that woe is me. This is what I decided I wanted to do, and I had to face the music. I really did.
I appreciate your candor. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Sometimes we got to put on our big girl panties, as Ayanna says. Yeah.
You got to put them on.
So we have other black women that have accomplished great successes, like those that I mentioned earlier. Some other ones, Taraji P. Henson, Camilla Harris, Shonda Rhimes, and countless others. Can you share a nugget to help women that are just starting a business?
Absolutely. So one of my favorite business entrepreneurs is, I say, Beyonce. And not because I think she's an excellent performer. This woman keeps such a great team around her. And I am amazed because what she does is almost revolutionary every single time. And so I think that that's a really big thing, is keeping a great team around you. You have to. And I think you spoke to that before. I try to employ people who know more than me, because I can always learn something from someone else. And I am not the type of leader that thinks that I know everything, because I do not. And so you need to understand that, people out here have a lot of information that can accelerate you and help you grow. Another thing I always say is dream bigger, and then take that dream and make it bigger. That's one of the things that I try to do. So I have a dream, and I'm like, okay, so this is what I want. How about I multiply that times 10? And I dream as big as I can, because with that, the sky's the limit. So if you have an idea and you're like, I want to have a makeup line, and I just want it to be solar line, I take it 10 steps further. I want it to be the go-to product for Oprah's, what does she call, favorite things, and I want it to be in these amount of stores. And I would just dream as big as you possibly can, because we have to be bold with our thoughts and be ambitious with what we want to do.
Yes, I agree. I totally agree. So what would you say is most important in having a successful business? Is there one thing that you can share?
One thing. I think that, for me, like, my challenge has been learning how to be an excellent leader. That's what I feel like. Having a business requires you to be a great leader. And I read a lot about that. I try to encourage my team to be great leaders, because a lot of times people think that the owner is the leader, but I always say that everybody on my team is a leader in some shape or fashion. So that was something that I had to develop, and I encourage other people to learn how to lead a team, because a business is not just one person. It's multiple people. If you can inspire and lead those people, they can lead other people, and before you know it, you'll see your dream coming to fruition. And, it just took a little bit of leadership.
Yeah. So let's have a little fun. If you could share something with your younger self, let's say the 15-year-old Dr. Ellis, or Dr. Ellis to be.
Dr. Ellis to be.
Yeah. If you could share something with your younger self about being in business, what would it be?
Relax.
Yes. For sure.
It's gonna be okay. Like, that's what I have to tell myself every day. It's gonna be okay. Even when it's not, it still is. And I am just, as a business owner, and I know a lot of my colleagues and friends that are listening to this or other entrepreneurs, we just get so worked up, and sometimes we have so much just tunnel vision. You can't see it, but you just got to relax. Like, it's going to be okay. If you're putting in that work and that effort, you should reap the benefits. That's how I feel. So that 15-year-old girl, I would have told her, that 15-year-old self would have told me, it's going to be okay and have fun. I love what I do. I really, really do. Like, there's not a tooth that I look at that I'm not excited about seeing. And
really?
I'm serious. Like, my patients say, I sing to them. I absolutely love what I do. Like, it could not have been a better fit for me. I just love it. And when you love it, when people say that, I get it now. Like, when you love something like that, it's not work.
No.
It's not work at all. So,
did you know you wanted to be a dentist? Obviously you went to the dentist with your dad, but from early on, did you know?
Oh, early on, like 7. My mother tells me it was 7. I knew early on, like, when I was in that chair with my dad or watching that procedure, and that doctor let me watch the extractions, I was sold. I said, this is great. And I don't know why, but I knew at that age that I wanted to do it. And my mother is an educator. She was a principal. So all I had to do was tell her I was interested in dentistry, and I was in every summer science program she could think of, anything related to science to just kind of cultivate that spirit. She was on it. So
very good nugget.
Yeah.
Very important for parents to hear that nugget. Yes.
Absolutely.
So, as I explained in the introduction, one of the greatest challenges African American women face in business is the lack of successful Black women role models in their community. So, did you grow up with entrepreneurial examples, or are you a first-generation entrepreneur?
I am a first-generation. So you spoke to me on that comment as well. I did not grow up around entrepreneurs at all, so that was something that is new to me. And to be honest, it is still very much so a struggle because, of course, again, like I said, I started my business 1 year out of school, but I didn't have a network to kind of lean on and bounce ideas off of. And all businesses are created equal, and I do mean that. I learned that at my business class. All businesses have the same problems. We have staff problems, or we have capital issues, or, so all businesses are pretty much run the same. So you do not have to just find somebody in your industry. You can have mentors in different industries, because we all have similar problems. So yes, that is definitely a problem. I am the first generation. I'm making my mistakes and rolling with the punches all by myself.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, I'm glad you hung in there, because that means that you can lead the way for others, because if you would have sold that practice, we wouldn't have this great, valuable input from you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for that. And that's a lot of prayer that made me hang in there.
Another good nugget.
Right. But now, you know what, Lisa, when you stick in there long enough, the business will eventually run itself. So the lucky thing is that now I have people in place, and I don't worry about my practice. The girls that are there, I have pretty much 90% Black women that are on my staff. They know their responsibilities. Yeah, and I love it because they're inspiring someone else too, and they know their responsibilities. So that office runs pretty efficiently, and I don't have, my expectation has been set. and they know what I'm looking for. And they also are part of the process. They want to see it grow as well.
That's great. Yep, collaboration. We'll talk about that in a moment. So, Dr. Ellis, there are many articles online about entrepreneurs and their success stories or challenges that they had to overcome, but there are very few about current-day women and what they've gone through, and definitely not specific articles sharing what African-American businesswomen have gone through. What do you do when you get stuck or overwhelmed? How did you navigate that and work through it?
Reach out and ask. You kind of have to create your own network. That's what I had to do because I didn't have, I think, a strong network here. I'm a transplant to Houston, so I didn't really know a lot of people. But I just started reaching out and making those calls and getting connected with people that knew what to do when a problem arises, because you don't know. And I'm a big person on networking too. You've got to get out there, out your comfort zone, and meet other people that can help. For me, I'm a talker, and I'm also a socialite, so I don't mind, hey, come with me to lunch. Hey, come with me to dinner. I'll pay for you for your dinner if you can teach me something. I didn't have a problem with making those connections, and that dinner was probably some of the best dinners that I've had because I learned so much. So, just getting out there and making yourself know that you have a problem, I think is important.
Yeah.
And then, because if you don't know and you think that you're struggling by yourself, you realize that there's a lot of people out here that are going through the same things that you are. So that's how the minority dental group got created. I literally was just like, hey, somebody would call me and they'd have a problem, or they'd call me and say, hey, how did you do this? And I said, well, maybe there's not a group out here that's like that. So let's create a little group, like a study group, where we can meet once a month and talk about some of the challenges that we're having. And that literally spiraled to over 100 people that are members now of this group. That started from something really small because so many people had the same problems,
Yeah, you're not an island.
Right.
Yeah, that's great. So what didn't you have when you were building your business that you wish you would have had?
I wish that I would have had a roadmap of kind of what to expect. And that's why I had mentioned earlier I'm creating, which we're actually launching April 8th. I'm super excited about having my first seminar, but it's called The Ambitious Dentist. And what it is that I didn't have a blueprint.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea. And so I was spending money recklessly that didn't need to be spent. I had no career trajectory plan for myself. I had no guidance. And so I allowed other people who, unfortunately, their goal is to make a profit, influence my decisions. And so I really wish that I would have had like a blueprint or someone to kind of guide me through these struggles. And what I wanted to do was create something for people to be able to have something like that, so that you can look at this and say, this is my goal and this is what I'm trying to spend, and this is where I project myself being in 10 years, and having some sort of roadmap to it. I didn't have that. And the planning is everything, right? If I had properly planned for certain things, like my practice is a smaller practice, but I never even planned for it to be bigger than it was, and so that may not have made sense for me at that time. So I just didn't have the guidance. Capital, also, I had good capital. I just don't think I leveraged it very well, if that makes any sense. So I didn't know that I was supposed to have a line of credit because I didn't have one. And then I could even negotiate line of credit fees. Like when I finally got a line of credit, it was for $10,000. Now, years later, I'm like, I can get a line of credit for $50,000, $60,000, $70,000. Like, it didn't have to be that low. And I'm struggling over here trying to make this $10,000 work. And all I had to do was make the phone call and say, hey, this is not working for me. Can I get an increase? I mean, that type of knowledge I didn't have. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for sharing that. So you spoke before about the business challenge in terms of feeling like you wanted to quit your practice. Was there another challenge balancing, you alluded to balancing time and time for yourself. So can you speak about that business/personal time-life balance challenge, what it took for you to make it through and figure out how to balance everything?
Yeah, and I still call it a balancing, that process still happens today. I still call it a balancing act. I had a lot of medical things that kind of happened to me and my husband during that time. We suffered from infertility, so that was a big issue, so life happened. I also had, I had opened a practice, and so I was staying late, and I gained all this weight, and I had to really work to get it off. Because, you just are so inundated with what's going on. So I just started taking better care of myself and recognizing that that place was going to be there, whether I worked 12 hours a day or if I worked 6. Sometimes when we open a business, we have to put in that time, but there's only so much that you can do effectively for a certain amount of time before you're just tired and you're no good to anybody. And so taking care of myself a little bit better, also enjoying what I was doing and the success of it. I now force myself to take trips, because I'm working very hard, but I wasn't enjoying working very hard. I mean, I'm not working hard just to work hard. I'm working hard to enjoy my life. And so that was something that I had to put into perspective too. So just, recognizing that life isn't going to be so black and white. There's going to be a lot of gray, and learning how to maneuver through those things. I started very young, I feel like, too. I was, like I said, I opened my practice at 26. I still feel like I was kind of on the verge of life and just starting, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
big ups and downs, and, now I'm kind of riding this wave out, and I'm a lot more flexible.
Good. So our black businessmen are showing us out, and that's not going to work.
I love it.
Tyler Perry has shared his homeless to success story. You can find it everywhere. Eric Thomas, the motivational hip-hop preacher, has the homeless to PhD story. So I got to pull our ladies together. We've got to get our stories out, and document it, so African-American women in business have some inspiration when they're feeling low and they're searching online to learn what other women did to overcome challenging times. So we need our rags to riches stories. And so my question to you is, what's yours?
Rags to riches.
From selling the business to...
Right.
From wanting to quit.
To getting it together. That's probably my biggest one is just, how do I say this? I really did have a lot of stressful situations going on personally that kind of maybe make my rags to riches. I don't have the Tyler Perry story, unfortunately. I grew up pretty middle class.
Well, that would be called fortunately.
Yeah. So I feel like I was fortunate. I had, a really good support system. And so my story, I probably don't get a chance to show like I was, struggling. The struggle, and my husband is a pharmacist. And so financially, I didn't struggle like probably other entrepreneurs did. So I have to be honest and say that. And that's fair. I definitely I've struggled in the beginning. I worked at a different office. I worked 6 days a week. I was busting the pavement, just really trying to make sure I could support, my employees. And then just kind of took it from there. So I always say this, like, I always fall, but I get right back up, and God has some form of hand on me. He's always pulling me right back up. And, so my struggle was really just getting to the point of wanting to walk away and being told that was a blessing, a little angel in disguise telling me that wasn't an option. That's probably my story. That's probably the best
That's
story
good.
I got.
No, that's actually good. The walk away story.
Yeah.
That's great. So let's switch directions for a moment.
Okay.
Today there's a lot of talk about collaboration. What are your thoughts on collaboration instead of competition?
Absolutely. I'm thumbs up, 100% support that. I believe that be your own competition. I am not trying to compete with other women. I want to see them be successful. I want to see us take it over. I mean, that is how I feel. So we have so many talents that we could benefit from each other. And my competition is myself. It has nothing to do with anybody down the street. And I don't feel like I'm in this world to just be about self. So if we could get together as women to support each other, especially Black women, because we do, I think, sometimes a decent job of kind of tearing us down. I would love to see us support each other more because we know the struggle. We know what it is to be a Black woman, you know, and it's not easy. And
no, it's not.
The support from each other is empowering. It's inspiring. And, you know, I think that I'm starting to see a lot more of that now. Like, don't you see? I feel like we're coming up on a movement that's going to be beautiful.
I do. I agree.
Yeah, and I think that's the way to go. Like, I have enough competition in my own head. I do not need you as my competition.
That's right.
So
that's right.
Let's work together.
Well, you know, it's an interesting point that you make. One of the things I share with business owners, especially women, is how they can succeed without having to compete by implementing the power of positioning and leveraging the media to build their brand. And that's pretty much the basis of my business and what I do in terms of helping business owners. But really, you don't have to compete. There's so many niches out there that you can be the hero in your own niche within your industry.
Absolutely. I mean, I stay in Houston. There is like billions of teeth here. I am not competing with you on some teeth. I'm just not going to do it because there's so many here. You're completely right, though. We do not need to compete. If anything, we could, you know, leverage our resources together and just do something so great. So I completely support that, Lisa. I think that's a great concept.
Yeah, that makes me want to share. Let's see if I can remember what he said. T.D. Jakes was talking about, you know, you have a hairdresser and you have a masseuse and you have different industries that are like-minded industries. Why don't they get a building together and everybody, you know, have an area instead of everybody being in a different location and paying leases all across the city?
And other cultures do that, you know, and it's just like, unfortunately, you know, my mother had me read the Willie Lynch letters really early on, that Cops in the Barrel, or how we would basically mentally we're not taught to do something like that. And I mean, when I even look at some of my patients and they're from India and they'll come into the country and everybody is living together to pool all resources together to get everybody established. I mean, that's the same concept. You know, we just got to do better about looking at us and supporting each other, you know, and supporting Black business even, you know. That's a big thing that I really try to make sure I'm paying attention to. Like, Black business, can I support it?
Yes. So how do you think we can move forward and turn that growing number, that statistic that I shared of African American women in business into successful million, multi-million, and billion-dollar businesses?
I mean, I think you hit it right on the head when you were talking about having those mentors, like Tory Burch, like how they can pull on those people. We've got to just be more vocal and letting people know that you can call me and ask me if you have questions. I'm really big on that. Like, I want you to call and ask me how you did something or how I did something, because we can build from that. I think also, too, showing the younger generation that that's a possibility. If we do not inspire, how can we have them dream that big? So to make them feel like it's okay, you know, we can do that. I think we also have to work on trying to get access to capital, and so I encourage people to have good credit. that's a big deal. Like, if I'm not going to trust you with my resources or my money if I don't feel like you're managing what you've been given. And so making smarter choices and decisions early on. Like, I didn't have credit card debt. I tried to make sure I knew that, hey, opening practice is going to be expensive. So I want the best credit I could possibly have, and that makes a big deal,
Yes, it does. And I'm glad you brought up Jessica Alba and how she reached out to Tory Burch and Diane von Furstenberg. On the flip of that, our leaders, our African-American women leaders, have to do just what you said. Make it known, be open when they receive an email, when they receive a phone call. Don't blow it off, oh, somebody's trying to pull on me, because maybe they're just trying to pull some encouragement.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's, it's just you have to live the life. I really feel like pay it forward. I know that we're going to talk about some things and tips as far as some of my big mantras, but pay it forward. You cannot get to where you were if you did not help someone else. And so you've got to be accessible to other people and allow them to kick your brain, so to speak.
Yeah. So what's your best piece of advice, Dr. Ellis, for other African-American women entrepreneurs building their business and those that may be struggling with finding startup capital or considering quitting like you did and going back and getting a job? What can you say to them?
I mean, I have a couple. Be ambitious. Be dedicated. Stay in faith. Whatever that faith is, stay in faith. Pay it forward. Try to not make snap judgments based on that day, because that day could look completely different tomorrow. And it's tough for all of us. You are not alone. And so there is going to come a time where you're going to want to give up. And just remember, there is someone else out there that is looking at you and wanting to make sure that you're successful, and do it for them if you can't do it for yourself,
Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. Let's see. What impact would you like to make as an African-American woman in business over the next 10 years? What's that dream times 10, that 10X dream?
Well, my dream, is related to my industry. So I'm a Black female dentist, and when I go to CE courses or when I go to conferences, Lisa, I don't see anybody that's presenting that looks like me. Mm-hmm. And I want to be that girl. I want to be the girl that's presenting that someone else can look at and say, oh, I need to be educating the masses. Let me go out here and try to get more classes together or inspire more people. I want to be a leading force in my industry. My industry is dominated by, Caucasian males, and so I am wanting to change the face of that.
That's a terrific goal.
That's pretty much my goal right now. So I love owning a practice. I think it's great, but I want to see more of people that look like me in my industry. And I went to dental school, and it was 4 of us in my class, and that percentage is less than 1%. We got to do better. I want to see for me as important.
Yes. So, do you have a mentor at this juncture in your business?
I do. I speak to him, probably once every blue moon. I have a couple actually. I have 2 that are in D.C., Dr. Dana Jackson and Dr. Eva Scott, and they're married. One is an oral surgeon and one is an orthodontist, but they have a practice, and so they kind of cheer me along the way when I have little times I want to cry. There's another doctor named Dr. Drayon Birch, and he actually has a company where he mentors other doctors in different areas, and so he is a great source of, bouncing ideas off and kind of motivating and being a visionary. And then, I listen to my mom and my dad, and they're extremely supportive. And, they can be my mentors too, I guess.
Absolutely. So do you have a suggestion for Black women in business on how to approach or seek a mentor to get that advice and encouragement?
I think that cold calls are good, but I also think that there's nothing wrong with stopping by businesses and asking who owns them. I guess depending upon what the business is. Email. One of my books I like to read is called The 4-Hour Work Week, and he mentions in the book how uncomfortable it was for him to find out about a product, and so he had to send emails to the CEOs, and eventually one of them actually responded. So being persistent, with something that you really want to have some information about.
Yeah.
But I think that it's just, I always say this, the worst thing that somebody can tell me is no, they won't help. Or no.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. I guess so it's two answers. It's either yes, we're doing this, or no, you can't. And with that mentality, you can really put your feelings in check. Because I think what people, are afraid of is rejection or are feeling let down. Mm-hmm. But, just find another mentor. If you didn't like what they had to say, find somebody that says what you want them to say.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you know of any organizations in your area that provide this type of mentorship?
Yeah, a lot of the local areas have small business bureaus that you can actually become a part of. The community colleges actually also offer a lot of times business classes and companies that are actually seeking to invest dollars. As a Black woman entrepreneur, there are companies that will be willing to give you money, and so it's just kind of getting in touch with those companies and trying to find out if there's funds available. But I know, the first place I probably would start would be the small business bureau, wherever you're located.
Okay. And can you share what are your 5 tips to success?
Being flexible, realizing that the world isn't so black and white. So if you're flexible, you can have the ability to bend a little bit if a problem comes your way. Hire great people and people who embrace your dream and support that. Being patient. Rome was not built in one day. So I always say Beyonce looks amazing, but that took her years to get there. And so, it takes time. Becoming more educated in your industry. Never stop learning, because essentially there is always something that is out there that could make you more efficient. And so, trying to get some good education or finding out a lot about your industry will help. And also network. You got to get out that business and let people know that your business exists. And networking is the best way to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing those.
No problem.
And do you have a couple of favorite books, 2 favorite books that every African-American woman business owner should read?
Yeah, so my first one that I have is How Successful People Think, and that's by John C. Maxwell. I love his books because as a spiritual person, he kind of mixes in a little God and a little guidance, and so that's always, I think, a great deal for me. And then Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. Her book talks about being able to be more vulnerable, and by me becoming more vulnerable, I was able to understand people a little bit differently, which helped me as a leader, and I don't rule the same way.
Very nice. Well, Dr. Ellis, thank you for taking the time to give back and share your journey as a Black woman in business. Is there one last nugget you might want to leave someone with? Inspiration?
Just live your life. You never know who's watching and who you're inspiring. And so if you don't give up, like you said, somebody is looking at you and wanting to see you win and be successful. And so keeping that in mind.
And where can our listeners get more information about you?
You can reach me at www.SamDavidHouston.com. That's my practice, Smile Design Studios. And then also, next week we'll be able to have www.theambitiousdentist.com. So those are two sites that you can reach out to me. I would love to hear feedback. And then, of course, your Facebook, Dr. Simone Ellis, and also on Instagram at Dr. Simone Ellis as well.
Excellent. Thank you for joining the show. And everyone, remember, lead with value and the revenue will follow.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.